Chapter 13. A surprising talk with Lily. Larry and Daisy rushed up to the others. They stared at the shoe in her hand in excitement.
"Daisy! Oh, Daisy! Have you found the rubber-soled shoes that belonged to the man who burnt the cottage?"
cried Fatty.
"I think so," said Daisy importantly. "You see, Larry and I went to see Mr. Smellie, as we had planned to do, and whilst he was talking to Larry, I slipped away and looked in his hall cupboard where shoes and things are kept. And among the shoes I found one pair that had rubber soles, and I'm almost certain the markings are the same as in those footprints we saw."
The children crowded round to look.
"It certainly looks very like the right shoe," said Pip. "It is," said Fatty. "I ought to know because I drew the prints." "Well, I don't think it is," said Bets unexpectedly. "The squares on the criss-cross pattern aren't quite so big. I'm sure they're not." "As if you could tell," said Pip scornfully. "I think we've got the right shoe, and we'll prove it. Get the drawing out of the summer house, Fatty."
Fatty went to get it. He took it from behind the loose board and brought it out to the others. They unfolded it, feeling very thrilled. They all gazed at the drawing, and then at the underneath of Mr. Smellie's shoe. They looked very, very hard indeed, and then they sighed in disappointment. "Bets is right," said Fatty. "The squares in the pattern of the rubber sole are not quite so big as in my drawing, and I know my drawing is quite correct because I measured everything carefully. I'm awfully good at things like that. I never make—" "Shut up," said Larry, who always felt cross when Fatty began his boasting. "Bets, as you say, is quite right. Good for you, young Bets." Bets glowed with pleasure. She really had learnt that drawing off by heart, as she had said she would. But she was as disappointed as the others that Daisy had not found the right shoe after all. "It's awfully difficult being a find-outer, isn't it?" said Bets. "We keep finding out things that aren't much help, or that make everything even more difficult. Pip, tell Larry and Daisy what the tramp said." "Oh, yes, you must hear about that," said Pip, and he began to tell Larry and Daisy what had happened with the tramp. "So now, you see, it's a bigger puzzle than ever," finished Pip. "The tramp saw Mr. Peeks all right, hiding in the bushes, but he heard him whispering to someone else. Was it old Mr. Smellie, do you think? You say that he went out for a walk that evening, and we know that Mr. Peeks was out at that time too. Do you suppose they planned the fire together?" "They might have," said Larry thoughtfully. "They must have known one another, and they might have got together that day and made up their minds to punish old Hick for his unkindness. However can we find out?" "Perhaps we had better see Mr. Smellie again," said Daisy. "Anyway, we must put back his shoe somehow. We can't keep it. Anyone seen Clearorf today?" Nobody had, and nobody wanted to. The children talked over what they were to do next. At the moment, everything seemed rather muddled and difficult. Although they had ruled out Mrs. Minns and the tramp from their list of suspects, it seemed impossible to know whether Mr. Peeks or Mr. Smellie, or both, had really done the crime. "It wouldn't be a bad idea to go and see Lily," said Fatty suddenly. "She might tell us a few things about Horace Peeks. After all, she wrote him a letter to warn him. She might know more than we think." "But Lily wasn't there that evening," said Daisy. "It was her evening off. She said so." "Well, how are we to know she didn't go back to Hickup's and hide in the garden?" said Fatty. "It seems as if half the village was hiding in that garden on the evening of the fire," said Larry. "The old tramp was there, and we think Mr. Smellie was, and we know Mr. Peeks was, and now you say perhaps Lily was too." "I know. It's really funny to think how full Hickup's garden was that evening," grinned Fatty. "Well, don't you think it would be a good thing to go and see Lily? I don't suspect her of anything, but it would be just as well to see if she can tell us anything to help us." "Yes, it's quite a good idea," said Larry. "Blow! It's lunchtime, Pip. We'll have to leave things till this afternoon. We'll all go down and see Lily. We'll take something for the cat and kittens again. And what about Mr. Smellie's shoe? When shall we take that back?" "We'd better take it back this evening," said Daisy. "You take it back, Larry, when it's dark. You may find the garden door open, and you can just slip in and put the shoe back." "Right," said Larry, and he got up to go. "We'll be back after lunch, find-outers." Pip and Bets were running to the house, afraid of getting into trouble if they waited any longer. Fatty went off with Buster. They all met together again at 2:30. Daisy had stopped at the fishmonger's and bought some fish for the cats. It smelt very strong, and Buster kept worrying her to undo the paper. "Come on, let's get going. We'd better get off quickly, or it'll be tea time before we finish talking," said Fatty. So they set off down the lane to find Lily. They felt certain they would not be caught by Hiccup this time, because Pip had seen him go by in his car not long before.
"One or two of us must talk to Mrs. Minns," said Larry, "and the others had better try and get Lily out into the garden and talk to her. We'll see how things go."
But as it happened, everything was very easy. Mrs. Minns was out, and there was no one in the kitchen but Lily. She was pleased to see the children and Buster.
"I'll just put Sweetie and the kittens out in the hall and shut the door," she said. "Then that little dog can come in. I like dogs. What's his name? Buster? That's a nice name for a dog. Buster! Buster! Would you like a bone?"
Soon the cat and kittens were safely out of the way, and Buster was gnawing a bone on the floor. Lily got out some chocolate from a drawer and handed it round. The children liked her. She seemed much more cheerful without Mrs. Minns to shout at her.
"We gave that note to Horace Peeks," said Larry. "We found him all right." "Yes, I got a letter from him today," said Lily. She looked rather sad suddenly. "That nasty Mr. Goon went up and saw him and said all kinds of horrible things to him. Horace is that worried he doesn't know what to do." "Did Mr. Goon think he had started the fire, then?"
asked Daisy.
"Yes," said Lily. "A good many people are saying that, but it isn't true."
"How do you know?" asked Fatty.
"Well, I do know," said Lily.
"But you weren't here," said Larry. "If you weren't here, you can't possibly know who did or didn't start the fire. It might have been Horace, for all you know."
"Now, don't you say a word if I tell you something, will you?" said Lily suddenly. "Promise. Say, honour bright, I'll not tell a soul."
The 5 children recited the 7 words very solemnly, and Lily looked relieved.
"Well then," she said, "I'll tell you how I know it wasn't Horace that did it. I know because I met him at 5 o'clock that day, and I was with him till I got in here at 10 o'clock, which is my time for being in."
The 5 children stared at her. This was indeed news.
"But why didn't you tell everyone that?"
asked Larry at last.
"If you said that, no one would say that Horace burnt down the cottage."
Lily's eyes filled with tears.
"Well, you see," she said, "my mother says I'm too young to say I'll marry anyone. But Horace Peeks, he loves me, and I love him. My father said he'd punish me if he caught me walking out with Horace, and Mrs. Minns said she'd tell my father if she ever caught me speaking a word to him. So I didn't dare to go out to the pictures with him, or even to talk to him in the house." "Poor Lily," said Daisy. "So when you heard everyone talking against him, you were very upset and wrote to warn him?" "Yes," said Lily. "And you see, if I tell that I was out with him that night, my father will punish me, and maybe Mrs. Minns will send me off, so I'll lose my job. And Horace can't say he was with me, because he knows it'll be hard for me if he does."
"Where did you go?" asked Fatty.
"I went on my bicycle halfway to Wilmer Green," said Lily. "We met at his sister's there, and had tea together and a bite of supper. We told his sister all about how poor Horace had lost his job that day, and she said maybe her husband would give him some work till he could find another job."
Fatty remembered that the tramp had seen Horace Peeks in the garden that evening, and he looked sharply at Lily. Could she be telling all the truth?
"Are you sure that Horace didn't come here at all that night?" he said.
The others knew why he said it. They too remembered that the tramp had said he had seen Horace Peeks.
"No, no!"
cried Lily, raising her voice in fright. She twisted her handkerchief round and round in her hands and stared at the children.
"Horace wasn't anywhere near here. I tell you, we met at his sister's. You can ask her. She'll tell you."
Larry felt certain that Lily was frightened and was not telling the truth. He decided to be bold.
"Lily,"
he said in a very solemn voice. "Somebody saw Horace in the garden that evening." Lily stared at Larry with wide, horrified eyes.
"No," she said. "They couldn't have seen him. They couldn't."
"Well, they did," said Larry. Lily stared at him for a moment, and then began to sob.
"Who could have seen him?"
she said.
"Mrs. Minns and her sister were here in the kitchen. Mr. Hick and the chauffeur were out. There wasn't anyone about. I know there wasn't."
"How do you know if you weren't here?" asked Larry.
"Well,"
said Lily, swallowing a sob.
"Well, I'll tell you. I was here. Now, don't you forget you said honour bright you won't tell a soul. You see, this is what happened. I rode off to meet Horace, and when I met him, he told me he'd left some of his things back at Mr. Hick's and he wanted them. But he didn't dare and go ask Mr. Hick for them. So I said to him, 'Well, Horace,' I said, 'Mr. Hick's out, and why don't you come along and get them now before he comes back?'"
The children listened breathlessly. They were getting the truth at last. Lily went on, twisting her handkerchief round and round all the time.
"So, when we'd had a cup of tea, we rode off here, and we left our bikes behind the hedge up the lane. Nobody saw us. We walked down behind the hedge till we got to Mr. Hick's. Then we both slipped into the bushes and waited a bit to see if anyone was about."
The children nodded. The tramp had said that he had heard Mr. Peeks whispering to someone, and that someone must have been Lily.
"I soon found out that Mrs. Minns had got her sister talking to her,"
went on Lily,
"and I knew they'd sit there for ages. I said to Horace that I'd get his things for him if he liked, but he wanted to get them himself. So I kept watch whilst he slipped into the house by an open window, got his things and came out into the bushes again. Then we went off on our bikes without seeing a soul."
"And Horace didn't slip down the garden to the workroom?" asked Larry. Lily looked indignant.
"That he didn't,"
she said.
"For one thing, I'd have seen him. For another thing, he wasn't gone more than 3 minutes. And for another thing, my Horace wouldn't do a thing like that."
"Well, that lets Horace out," said Larry, saying aloud what everyone else was thinking. "He couldn't have done it. I'm glad you told us all this, Lily. Golly, I do wonder who did it then."
"It only leaves Mr. Smellie,"
said Bets without thinking. Bets's words had an astonishing result. Lily let out a squeal and stared at Bets as if she couldn't believe her ears. She opened and shut her mouth like a fish and didn't seem able to say a word. "Whatever's the matter?" asked Larry in surprise.
"What did she say that for?"
asked Lily, almost in a whisper.
"How does she know that Mr. Smellie was here that night?"
Now it was the children's turn to look surprised. "Well," said Larry, "we don't know for certain. We only just wondered." "But why are you so astonished, Lily? What do you know about it, anyway? You didn't see Mr. Smellie, did you? You said that no one saw you and Horace." "That's right," said Lily. "But Horace saw someone. When he got in through the window and went upstairs to get his things, he saw someone creeping in through the garden door, and it was Mr. Smellie." "Golly!" said Larry and Pip. They all stared at one another. "So Mr. Smellie did go down here that night," said Larry.
"No wonder he was so startled when you asked him if he went anywhere near Mr. Hick's on the evening of the fire," said Daisy. "He did it!"
said Bets triumphantly.
"Now we know! He did it! He's a wicked old man!"
"Do you think he did it?" Fatty asked Lily. She looked puzzled and perplexed.
"I don't know," she said. "He's a nice, quiet old gentleman, I think, and always had a kind word for me. It's not like him to do such a violent thing as set something on fire. But what I do know is, it wasn't Horace."
"No, it doesn't look as if it could have been Horace," agreed Larry.
"I see now why you didn't say anything before, Lily. You were afraid."
"Well, we shan't tell anyone. It seems to me that we must now turn more of our attention to Mr. Smellie." "No doubt about that," said Fatty. "Well, we've certainly found out a few things this afternoon."